Whiskey 7, Del Lima, D Delta, stroke 4 in North Carolina. And I'd like to get a check out here on my little Chinese G90 20-watt radio. Over.
All righty, now that's one of those X. How do you say X?
It's one of those X. How do you say X? They pronounce it Zygu. Zygu. Yes, this is Z sound.
Zygu. Okay, there. Who we got there? What's the name?
Zygu. Okay, there. Who we got there? What's the name? Name is Jack, and I just recently, this spring, moved out here from the Seattle area. I lived in Quilcene there for all my life. I'm 86 years of age, and ex-Myo wanted to get closer to kids and grandkids, so I finally conceded, and we packed up and moved out here to Eden, North Carolina. I'd like to say that everybody down south down here has really been kind. There's just helpful, kind, just nothing but a wonderful experience all the way around. So I'm on a battery here with my little Chinese radio that weighs about, 2 pounds. Back to you, Whiskey 7, Lima Delta, portable 4.
Roger, Jack. Now, you haven't got an external power supply for that radio yet?
Jack, now you haven't got an external power supply for that radio yet? Oh, yeah, I got an external power supply, but I've got a $500 battery I bought, 12.8 volts, 100 ampere hours. Huge battery. And I only got to charge it about every 3 months, over.
Oh, roger that. Now, this thing is just a small little, maybe 2 cigarette pack wide thing?
Just a small little, maybe 2 cigarette pack wide thing? Yeah, it's, spread your fingers apart, I guess it's probably 6 inches, maybe 6.5 inches wide, about 2 inches tall, and I would say it's, 16 to 18 inches long.
All right, Jack, hang on just a moment. Why don't you tell me in about 10 or 15 seconds all about your antenna system, and I'll look around and see if I can find a better path for us, Roger?
Antenna system, and I'll look around and see if I can find a better path for us, Roger? Roger. That's the mouth. So, we'll get your hopes up. This is
I'm sorry, I needed just a little bit more, about 10 seconds worth, Roger.
Sorry, I needed just a little bit more, about 10 seconds worth, Roger. Oh, I see. You want me to talk. Okay, I got you. Yeah, very good. Well, let's see. It's a 80-meter dipole, which is the worst band. And the east end is up in the air about 75 feet high across some old oak trees. And it's gonna come down because the rope that holds it up is just laying across all those little bitty limbs up at the top. I don't know how long it takes for them to rub and fall down. And the other end is up about 50 feet high, and it's the same situation. It's fed in the center with a 450 ohm open wire line, and that runs out for 100 feet, and that connects up to a coax, a 50 ohm coax, RG8X, and it runs for 100 feet. And then finally it found a hole bored into the house and up into the ham shack. So 200 feet of feed line. So, like the old, like they used to tell us kids, if the antenna doesn't radiate, the feed line will. Over.
Roger that. All right, I got you best on my PASDR. You look to be about 10 over or 8 over the noise level of the PASDR. I think you might be able to scramble a few more decibels, maybe 2 decibels hotter on that radio. If you does that radio have a mic gain control?
Yeah, does that radio have a mic gain control? Oh, yeah. I'm using a speech processing that is part of the software. Not very much of it, but I got the mic gain nice and low at about 10%, I guess it is, and the overall gain of the radio I got it set at 60% for the RF gain, so it's pretty quiet. I've had it there for 3 or 4 years now, ever since they came out. Paid $400 for it, and I've done 100% of all my hamming here last year using this little radio. Over.
Roger that. But I have a technical question. Now, why would you run that low-power radio at 50% RF out?
Low-power radio at 50% RF out. Yeah, that's just a gain setting there. The soft radios, if you look inside, there's nothing in them. because all these chips are just programs. Yeah, right on. And I also do CW. I like it an awful lot. Check into a few CW traffic nets now there in the North Carolina, South Carolina area. And also, it's kind of neat that you could be talking like this on a single sideband and play with the key, and you can transmit modulated to CW at the same time, like this. So anyway, such is life. So anyway, I want to say again, all the people here in the southeast of US of A have treated me and my wife very, very graciously, and we've enjoyed the move so far. The only thing I haven't experienced yet, I think, is the state income tax. The Washington State's never had a state income tax. I'll have to find all out about that. All right, so give me again 100% of your location, please. And let me get your code down correctly. Go ahead.
Yeah, Roger. The name here is Jim, Juliet India Mike, and we're located around Louisville, Kentucky. We're on the Indiana side of the Ohio River, right at Louisville. And so I guess, you can probably tell where Louisville is more than New Albany, Indiana. So we just use Louisville as a central point. It is about 4 miles away from across the river, Roger. And so mainly this channel is about setups, transmitter setups specifically. And, things are... When you have a minimum amount of power, then every little bit helps. As far as increasing your capability of what you do have. And I'm thinking, if you're running half power output on that machine, I mean, that's 50% more power you've got. It's not like a 10% or 5% more power. That's that's double the power of where you are, man. That's a nice little kick to a low-powered station to be able to double their power. That's even a high-power station that's going from 100 watts to 200 watts. And that's a pretty nice little jump right there. So I would just encourage you to think about running that thing at more power as it was rated. 20 watts or whatever it is, full power though. And if you wanted to, you could always keep a feel-safe finger on the output if you wanted to check it from time to time. But you are talking amateur radio, which is usually a 50% duty cycle. So that means that RF is getting quite a rest between the transmissions. So, like I say, I would encourage you to think about running that at full power, and we might be able to find a couple of more decibels in your audio level if you'd be interested.
Roger. So, my signal report on your end leaves a lot to be desired, I understand. What did you say my report was? 5 by what?
You're about 8 dB over the noise level of the PA-SDR that I'm copying on. I've got, 5 different SDR, well, more than that. I've got 4 SDRs active, and then I've got another 50 that's kind of in my suspense file that I can go to fairly quickly. Usually it amounts to like 3 SDR stations per state on the, the eastern part of the United States. Is primarily what I'm working, Roger.
Part of the United States is primarily what I'm working, Roger.
Roger, understand, and I need to delay a little bit more here for the SDR. Yeah, very good. Oh, I'm impressed. I'm enjoying having lots of fun, and 50% CW, 50% sideband. I got my license 70 years ago. 70 ago, I received my license on May the 5th of 1955. So I've been on here ever since I was a kid. And now I'm 76 years of age and still active. My ex-YL is general class also, and she's worked 119 countries in CW. She doesn't want to talk to anybody on a microphone. She doesn't want to get that close. My number one son is a ham also, but he's only a handheld AM, FM guy. But anyway, I've been active on the air basically almost every day for the past 70 years. Over.
Roger there, Jack. Listening to your audio, your frequency response contour is very nice. It's not much at the bottom end, but then, what the hey. I mean, your informational from 1K up to maybe 4K is 3K, whatever it is, really sounds good. I wouldn't change that at all. I was just thinking that maybe, does that radio have an ALC meter?
Thinking that maybe, does that radio have an ALC meter?
Yes, it does. And you got a whole different bunch of settings for ALC. You can have it fast, you can have it slow, you can have it -A, you can have it no AGC whatsoever. You can have, I don't know, there's probably 6 different AGC settings. Fine choice, over.
Roger. Usually an ALC circuit is a fast attack relief limiter. Actually, it's not a compressor, it's a fast attack release limiter. So if you have something, the fastest you got is what I would recommend on the ALC meter operation, Roger?
Would recommend on the ALC meter operation, Roger?
Roger, and I can even turn it clear off, have no AGs whatsoever. There's no delays at all.
Yeah, no, you don't want to do that. See, your ALC is overall limiting your audio to keep it from exceeding your excursion bandwidth. And it's going to challenge stuff that comes in hot, but that starts to stack up as far as fatness in signal. So, but what you want to do, the best way I've found to set the proper radio level is use the word audio, not the back part of that, just the first part, the and you become a human test generators. And so with mic gain in hand, as you say the word audio, you adjust the mic gain until your ALC meter is running 7 or 2/3. 7 or 2/3. I found that to be the best way to set a level with your ALC for your radio. Roger?
Set a level with your ALC for your radio. Roger?
Testing. Yeah, understand. That's 7. I understand that. So how does that work?
It seemed to come up quite a bit there. And they also, I'm sure that's a hand mic that you're running there probably. And so the best way to run that hand mic is pull it to the corner of your lips, actually touch the corner of your lips and talk across it. Do not talk directly into it, but talk across it. Roger?
Across it. Do not talk directly into it, but talk across it. Roger?
Roger, understand, and that's what I've been doing, and you shouldn't hear any P's or T's or those popping, over.
Yes, so that really sounds good right there. I couldn't tell that you were on a hand mic at all. There were no telltale signs. It was just all clean, and that's the beautiful thing about a hand mic. If you work it right, you're going to sound beautiful usually.
If you work it right, you're going to sound beautiful usually.
Roger. All right. Well, you know what? I really enjoyed our QSO here, and Jim, you're very, very helpful, and I bring up a lot of things that a lot of hams don't even know or think about. And so good on you. Keep it coming, and I like you to encourage CW ops too. That's my big interest here. Only about 25 words a minute, but that's a very good conversational speed where you don't have to write anything down. Just lean back, put your hands behind your head, and listen. It's another language. Back to you, Jim. W7LD, portable 4 through an SDR.
Roger, Jack. Well, my grandfather was before the FCC, and his specialty was CW. And he would work all night long doing his CW around the world, you know. And he, like you say, he really was a CW guy. He didn't, you know, do phone at all. So, and then my father, you know, skipped a generation, and I guess I got the bug from my grandfather because not for the code part, but for just the amateur radio, you know, voice stuff. Roger, Roger?
Amateur radio, you know, voice stuff. Roger, Roger?
Roger, Roger. Well, I tell you what, all my stuff was built for the first 20 years, okay? I never heard a 2-meter signal for my first 20 years of being licensed, and then that came along, and I built an FM transceiver and put it on the air and used to talk to some of those local peoples around here. But a lot of various configurations of built. You know, Para 808, Para 807, Para 809s, 813s, 4-250s. Anyway, just lots and lots of home built. And my wife was having trouble with one of them. I was working on it and I was cussing at it. My wife says, "Why don't you buy a new radio?" And I says, "What? What did you say?" She says, "Why don't you buy a new radio?" I said, "Sweetheart, you know what I want?" And I opened up the QSB, and on the inside cover, of course, was the Kenwood TS940 back in 1988. And he says, "I want one of those." She says, "Well, order it." So I called them up and ordered it, and lo and behold, it came, and $3,000 later, I had a Kenwood station. And that lasted for quite a few years. It was really a good setup. And I put up a 60-foot tower, and the antenna on the top was 2 elements on 40, and 3 elements on 20, 3 elements on 18, 3 elements on 15, and 3 elements on 12, and 4 elements on 10. That worked out pretty good. Of course, that was a DXAC type of setup. I've just been busy here all my life with ham radio. Over.
Oh, Roger. Well, you're so lucky you have the wife you do, because some wives do not share in their husband's amateur radio life, and that's unfortunate, you know, because it is you know, room for everybody. Not everybody, I guess, wants to be an operator, but can be associated with you know, the hobby by supporting the guy that's in the family that's in the hobby. So there you go. And I'm glad you liked that and got that first radio, and I'm glad that you have a very cohesive family involvement in the amateur radio operations. Roger?
Involvement in the amateur radio operations. Roger?
Oh, yeah, you betcha. Hey, my first transmitter was in a Hills Brother 1-pound coffee can, served upside down, had a 6V6 a tube mounted an 8-octal socket on the top, and had a crystal socket on the side of it. And for the power supply, I just took the 110-volt lines you have, you know, in your home, and put a selenium rectifier on the hot one, and a capacitor across it to filter it a little bit, and use that for power. So there was no transformer or power supply involved. And the student had a flashlight bulb, you know, rubber grommet on the top, and you would dip it by looking at the brilliance of the light. And that, I figured, put out about 4 watts. And I used that on HF for a long time. Over.
Oh, Roger. Now, did you also use a 6L6 or just the 6V6?
Roger. Now, did you also use a 6L6 or just the 6V6?
The 6V6. If you look it up for the two things, socket connections are 7AC, and that accommodates a whole bunch of different configurations. 6F6, 6L6, 1614. Anyway, there's several different configurations that use that very same socket configuration of an octal socket. Over.
Yes, sir. Now, I did build something similar to that. It was a 1-tube crystal control. I guess it was an AM transmitter. For oh gosh, I forgot what frequency it was, but I was always amazed. Now, you know, it looked like to me that my device, of course, I was using a 6L6, and it looked like I was doing like maybe 15 watts, Roger.
And it looked like I was doing like maybe 15 watts, Roger.
Yeah, it's a pretty tough tube for its size. You betcha. You betcha. Yeah, and then the receivers, I built a number of receivers, but nothing I built in the receiver line equaled something that I could buy. We could buy more surplus stuff there back in 1955. So I could buy a BC for the 454 for 80 meters and a BC 455 or 7 for 40 meters. Anyway, they were $3.95, brand new in a box. Had 6 tubes in it, and you rewired the tubes for 24 volts. You put them all in series. A rocket resistor in series with it, plugged it into 110 volts. No filament transformer, just warm them up that way. And then you jerk out all the plates on the thermal capacitor in there, except for 3, and then pat it back up to frequency, and that was the band spread. They're brought her to barn door. But for $5 for a receiver, that lasted a long time. Over.
Oh, roger that. And was any of that under 60 pounds?
Oh, roger that. And was any of that under 60 pounds?
Run that by again.
No, I was just talking about the weight of a lot of that surplus military stuff. It was, I think they sold it by the pound. A receiver was like about 30 pounds, Roger.
Pound? A receiver was like about 30 pounds, Roger.
Yeah, well, the surplus places, electronic surplus stuff from World War II was available at 10 cents a pound, usually. For a senior year of high school, we had a radio shop in high school. And then a radio shop for a senior project, I built a pair of 813s in parallel for the RF and modulated with a pair of 813s and with the AM with a big modulation transformer and high voltage at 2500 volts. I had a 20 amp variac. I ran it on 220. A 20 amp variac on the 110 volt side, so I could run it at the high voltage up and down, kind of bring it down before I lit it off. Just have that limited onrush when you first turned it on. And I had it up here until this last December. And if you look right now at me on QRZ.com, you'll see it. I'm sitting there in a chair, and you'll see my big high school project. They're sitting right behind the chair. It's about 4 foot tall, 19 inches wide. It weighs 400 pounds. Over.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. They made some good stuff, but you were going to pay for it, and if you were the radio man, that you had to pack it around. Hopefully, you got it on the back of a Jeep or something instead of trying to carry it to the next venue, Roger.
Trying to carry it to the next venue, Roger.
Roger. Well, as kids, that always turn out to work party with the kids, and the kids are strong. Yeah, you betcha. Well, my dad hated ham radio. He didn't like it, and had a little teeny house I lived in over top of the garage for my own room. And so when 15 meters opened up back there in 1955, I had a 15-meter dipole, did quite well. So I put up another one and hooked them up in phase. And so the spreaders were 8-foot-long Super-4s, one on one side, one on the other side, and it had a Y shape in the middle and fed with the 450 open lines. Well, in a windstorm, a rope broke on one of the supports on the side. So when it fell down, it was hanging vertical. It was just high enough to hit the windshield of my dad's car. So it took the windshield out of my dad's station wagon when the rope broke and it collapsed. So he wasn't happy about that. W7LD.
Roger. Well, life's that way as you move along in the world of amateur radio. Well, Jack, it's been a pleasure, sir. I think your audio is just beautiful now for what you got there. It's sounding, like I say, I'm using the PASDR, and you're about looks like about 3 dB dynamic range, which means your average percent of peak modulation is right about 80 to 85%. So that's a nice average percent of peak modulation for that Xuegue or Xuegue or whatever it is. Nice audio, Roger.
Xuegue or whatever it is. Nice audio, Roger.
Roger. You want to learn the term Xuegue G90. It's very popular all over the world, and there's more and more coming around. like I said, the purchase price was $400. Just pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. So that's for sure. Let me tell you one more. I built a 450 TH, I guess it was. It had a screen grid on it, and rather than use the triode, I used that one, and it needed the supply of 700 volts on the screen. Well, so I didn't have the stuff I needed to make the 700 volt power supply, so I used a drop-in resistor from the high voltage. Great big old wire-wound drop-in resistor, and it wasn't quite enough watts. It ran pretty hot. And so what I did was I thought I put a piece of asbestos down on the bare table, set the caster on top of that, and then the amplifier was sitting on that. Well, anyway, it had a long-winded like today, and it got hotter and hotter and hotter, and lo and behold, that was not asbestos, it was rubber-based. It caught on fire. When it caught on fire, the flames came out underneath and came up around the back, and it came up on the wall. It went up the wall, went across the ceiling. I'm hollering help. My dad come up there with a hose or whatever, turned all the power off, and put me out. And I was limited from being on the air there for a month for punishment. But I sure ruined a lot of good QSL cards there in the fire. So those watt ratings that you have for I2R on power resistors, you want to pay attention to them. This is W7LD.
Oh, roger that, roger that. Now, it brings to mind once I had this Salvation Army-Navy salvage outlet, and once they had an item in there that I just had to have. It was a German tank transmitter. It was all of the nomenclature on the radio was in German, and it had been converted somewhat to 110 volts. I'm not sure exactly how that was, but anyway, it wasn't working, and so I got it home, and I started trying to track the. They would use wire bundles, and these bundles were laced with some kind of stuff, and then sprayed with some kind of stuff, antifungal stuff or whatever. So I'm, trying to read the code, or trace the wires out, and it's almost impossible. So I say, well, I'll just open these bundles up and follow it that way. So I had a pair of fingernail clippers, small little jobbers, one went around your thumb and one around your second finger or something, and so I started cutting this bundle, and everything went fine for a while, but then law of averages, I hadn't powered down the radios. I was cutting the bundle, and these little fingernail clippers were very, very sharp, and somewhere along the line I cut in a little too deep into the bundle, and I got a hold of the high voltage, and the next thing I know, I'm turned around backwards to the radio, and I'm vibrating, and I'm wondering, why am I vibrating? I'm not even on the radio. I'm past the radio. And what it was, it was down in Florida. It was a real hot day, and I'd taken my shirt off, and I was kind of leaning over the radio, kind of supporting my chest with the radio as I leaned over and worked on it. And when I caught that high voltage, man, it just choop. And, it took me about 20, 30, 40 seconds to realize I wasn't breathing. And I was thinking, man, I got a limited amount of time to figure this out. And I started just beating myself in the chest, and just ever so slightly, I would go. That's about all the air I could get there for about 20 minutes, but it did pass, and I did take the German transmitter out and dig a hole and bury it.
The German transmitter out and dig a hole and bury it.
Oh yeah. Well, my radio shop teacher told us kids in the class that it only takes 6 milliamps of current to flow through your heart to make it stop. Most hearts will stop with only 6 milliamps of current through it. So if you got a flashlight battery and they stick on the right place with the blood, you can actually stop the heart. Hey, let me tell you another story. I'm a retired electronic technician working on the U.S. government and submarines is my specialty of torpedoes and missiles and whatever. way back in analog days, they had these attack directors, Mark 113 system. And these attack directors were like a nest almost, half a nest. And it opens up into 1, 2, 3, 4 different panels that would open up. Well, I had something I had to get into inside of it. I had to get close to it. So I carefully put my bald head in there, and I got zapped, top of the head. So that made me thrust my head downward. Then my chin hit something, and it thrust back up the other way. So my head's going up, bam, 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 about 5 or 6 times before I finally got my head pulled out of that thing. And I'll tell you what, my head hurt. This is W7LD.
Oh, roger that. Boy, no friendly harbor anywhere in that area, for sure. Well, Jack, good to talk at you, sir. Like I say, that radio is really sounding good. I wouldn't change a thing. I would keep it just like that. Get the Gorilla Tape out and tape everything that moves down. And if you want to hear the audio, if you go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, followed by the word logbook, that's KC9VKV, followed by the word logbook, that will take you to this recording. It'll be cut number 1 in a series of 3400, and I'll have it uploaded to YouTube by noon tomorrow. So 73, Jack. Catch you later.
By noon tomorrow. So 73, Jack. Catch you later.
One more question. KC9, how much? Give me your call a couple times.
Roger, roger. Call is Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor. And repeat, Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, and that call sign is followed by the word logbook. So it's KC9VKV logbook to come to this recording. Roger?
KC9VKV logbook to come to this recording. Roger?
Roger. Very good. Okay, Jim, you've been most helpful. It's a lot of fun. This is my very first experience with an SDR. A lot of my other friends do that. And probably ought to do that to talk to my friends back in the West Coast, but haven't done that yet. And the frequency, I find it here that 07.188.00. So that's the other thing I'll say about the Xiegu. It doesn't rip, and the frequency is nat's ass, and also you can actually adjust the main crystal oscillator that controls the accuracy of everything, even 1 hertz. If you wanted to. This is simply changing this 1 hertz quantum plant, and that goes into the mass of all the other things that the radio does. So how universal, huh? It gives the oscillators the choice of rubbering the master clock. Over.
Roger, Jack, and come back with your call sign slowly, phonetically, so make sure I got it.
Come back with your call sign slowly, phonetically, so make sure I got it.
All right, how about this? Whiskey 7 long distance. Whiskey 7 long distance. W7LD. And presently on portable 4, I hope to fix that. But right now I'm supposed to do a portable 4. Over.
Roger. All right, sir. Let me say 73 to you, and if you get a chance, make room for us next Friday. We'd love to have you drop by. 73, Jack. This is the Friday afternoon Qso-Vlog net. If you have a radio you want to check out, give me a shout.